Everyone, it's Kathy Colaiacovo with the Marketing Your Private Practice with Kathy C podcast. This video today is one that is going to support one of my episodes on the podcast, episode 169. And in that episode, we're working through this series that I was doing on marketing your practice in 1 hour a week. And in that episode that week, the one that we came to was sort of talking about the hour that you would spend, say, on week 2. So the entire series was all about what to do with this 1 hour a week to do your minimum viable marketing that you could do. And in week 2, part of what we do is create some image content from content that we created in week 1 to create the images for our marketing and for our social media content that we're creating. Part of that got really confusing as I was talking about it online. So I wanted to come over here, get online, get on screen, and show you some of how I keep things organized with the images and how I make that all happen. And a lot of this comes from some of the lessons that I teach within the Thrive Marketing Academy. We have an entire module on content and storage and systems and how to keep things organized. And so what I want to do today is give you a little bit of insight into some of that training. I'm going to show you a little bit of the presentation and the training that I have from that particular module, but I'm also then going to connect the dots and show you how I organize and store and use all of my images for my marketing for every cycle that I do, which for me is every week. Now, a lot of you will do every month when it comes to your marketing, maybe every 2 weeks. So whatever cycle you've decided to create for creating your new content, you just follow along with it. But ultimately, no matter what cycle you have, you need to keep those images organized, stored, and saved in a way that you can use and reuse them. One of the things that I talked about in that episode was about always downloading your images from Canva to your computer. I am not one who will ever leave those images there. I know a lot of people use Canva to do their social media scheduling, which is fine. But for me, if you're leaving all of those images in Canva, as you make them, you create them, and you start leaving this whole trail of images behind you, one day is going to come that you're going to want those images. And now you have to spend a ton of time to get them all back and download them and find them. My practice and what I taught in episode 169 of the podcast was to make sure that as you create those images, when you go to use them each week, download them to your computer and have a system and a naming convention for your files, for your folders, for your documents, for everything. And when you do, then number one, it's easier to find it when you need it, because that's what it's all about. You want to make sure that you can easily reuse those images and that content that you're creating. Otherwise, you're just using it once and never using it again. There's a lot of times that I run into where I go back and I reuse those old images that I created. But if they were left sitting in Canva, I'm not going to be able to easily access them. So that's one, why I teach an entire module on this. But two, it's also why I recommend that everybody have a system for naming your files, naming your images, naming your documents. Everything that you have should have a system. And what I'm going to do here is just do a little screen share and show you a few things, a little bit of an inside view into what I do and how I organize and keep things all together for myself. And it all really comes back to 100% having systems that keep you organized, because systems, checklists, and procedures, they're all about helping you run your business or your practice very efficiently. So this is part of what I teach in the Thrive Marketing Academy. And hold on. Let's minimize. There we go. So this is part of what I teach in the academy, and it's really all about having systems and processes for standardized names for your folders, for files, for lists, for tools, whatever you're going to have and you're saving things, have a naming convention for them. Have a process for saving files, have a spot, a specific folder, a specific spot that you put certain files and store specific things in those specific folders. Archive things them when they're out of date. Archive things when they're out of date. One of the problems that happens with people is you waste time because you've got so much of the old stuff buried in with the new stuff. Make archive files and folders and put old stuff in there. And that's something you should do every year, annually. Clean out, your files when you're doing your taxes, because that's the time of year when you have to start saving that entire year for whatever it was. And then delete things when they're no longer needed. One of the things I don't delete, but I do move to a hard drive, is my file folders of old, so past 7 years typically, of newsletters or articles that I've written, things like that. So you really want to have some sort of naming convention for all of these, because it's all about making sure that you can find things when you need them. So I'm going to just stop sharing there, and I'm going to move over and share to another spot for you. And now I'm going to show you exactly where and how I put the different pieces of the content and what I do with it as part of how I do my regular work. So for number one, to start off with, I'm going to use an example here. So we've been talking about creating your content and putting everything together. You have week 1, you're going to write your anchor content article. Week 2, which is what episode 169 was all about, was going in and creating the social media content, creating the images, and putting them together. But you have to store them somewhere. So I want to give you an idea of the inside of my systems that I use, so that you can understand a little bit better from the podcast what I was talking about when I was saying, make sure that you're saving your files, you're having folders that make sense for you to find them again, and that you have also got some naming conventions going on here, but also that you organize. I mentioned I organize my Canva the same way I do my desktop. And I seriously do this. And it's all about having a system so that when I need to reuse or find or use again those files, I know exactly where they are. So this is my document that I keep everything in for every episode that I do. So every episode gets its own document, and I have all these different templates and sections in it. And down at the bottom here is the social media content. So in this section here, I have, as I was explaining in the episode, I typically create 4 images a week for my marketing. So what I do is I call them. I said, call your images something, have a template for them. So I call one my entrepreneur private practice tip. I have a reference in my document to the template for it in Canva. I mentioned that I keep a square version and a rectangular version. So I use one version. Well, I guess it's not square anymore. It's vertical for Instagram, but I keep the Instagram size version, and I keep the Facebook and LinkedIn size version. So I have 2 different versions. This is the image that when I'm writing, so when I'm in week 1 of writing my content, I pull out some images that I want to use, words on an image. So this is one, and this is for my image called the entrepreneur tip. Then I also have an image, and I was talking to you guys about keeping captions together and having a different caption for LinkedIn. This is everything. Like, you're getting an inside view of what I do with mine. So then I have my takeaway one. So I mentioned in the episode that I have one where it's a promotional, it's basically a blog promotional post. For me, it's promoting my podcast, not my blog, but it's a carousel. It's a takeaway one. So I have a cover image, and then I have 3 other images that go with it. And again, I pull out whatever those 3 things are every week. I call this image the takeaway carousel. I know exactly what I'm putting on it every week. It's going to be the cover image, which is the title of the website or the podcast, and then the 3 tips that people can learn by listening in. Then I have the content for Instagram. I have the content for Facebook that I change a little bit, add the URL, do exactly what I was telling you all to do in the episode. And then I have the steps one. And so I typically will teach, I can always pull out some ideas, like some 1 or 2 or top 5 or 10 steps for something. So that's where I make another carousel image. I have the sample that I have in here. I put in the content that I have that I want to put on it. I put that together when I'm writing the main article. And then I have the caption that I do for Instagram. I have the caption that I do for LinkedIn and Facebook, which has the URL, and the caption for Instagram will say, you know, check the link in my bio type of thing. So it's all here. Everything I was telling you in episode 169 is here. The reason it makes sense though, is because when I go to my Canva, I'm going to move my picture out of the way here. When I go over to Canva, I keep things saved in the same way. So I have a file folder that will be about my courses. I have a file folder that might be for my clients. I have a file folder for my Facebook ads if I'm doing those, or webinars, whatever it might be. I have the file folder for the socials. So I keep everything organized over here. I have a file folder for the podcast. So if I go into the podcast, this is where I can find, this is where my cover image is. This is where, if I'm using an audiogram image, that I can find it. I save everything in here the same way that I would do online. If I need to go find anything with regards to one of my lead magnets, I can find a file folder for it over here. If I want to find anything to do with my logos, they're all over here. So I keep everything as much as possible saved and stored in the same way in all of these folders. So if I want to go and find my latest Facebook cover, it's in over here. Right now, I want to show you the current social media that I'm using. And so if I go in here, I can see the Pepper Podcast Social. So this is where we've got the social images, and this will be all the templates that we use for my marketing that we use in this current day and age. And so in here, I have the entrepreneur tip one. So you can see in here, these are the ones that I call them. I'm going to move this image out of the way again. I call them the entrepreneur tip, Instagram size, current for 2025. So I name the file. I know exactly what it is. And we keep the same ones in here. So basically, when it is time to create a new one, we basically just duplicate last week's, change the words out. I know from what I have, whatever is in there, that if I go to my document over here, the image that needs to get created would be essentially a copy and paste here. I have you'll notice this is in script format. So I have a system with my virtual assistant that whatever I put into that script is what's going to turn out to be the script words for the actual image. So everything is saved. So to make this image is literally, I told you all, 5 minutes max for social media images. I really mean it. For this image here, she's going to copy this in here. And actually I can go back and find the one that she made. So there it is here. So all she would do is come over here. She would paste in these words. She would paste in the words, book a consult, have them in the script. Then she's got it all set there. She's named it episode 162, best newsletter clicks. And then she downloads it. So we click, we save, and we download it. And I told you all that I downloaded them for a reason. And I'll get to that in a second. Within here, I also have the version of those that is the version for LinkedIn and Facebook. So this is a different size version. You can see that I keep a couple templates. I'm going to just show you here. So I keep just basically 2 templates, one with a lighter blue background and one with a dark one. So each week we'll come in. So next time we come in to write one of these, it's going to be duplicate. We'll move this one over here. And then this will be the one that my VA will go in and change. And then this one will get changed to episode 169. And depending on what that one is and what the words are going to be, we would name the file here a keyword rich file name, so that if I ever want to use it again for something else in the future, I can. I will use these all the time in PowerPoint lessons, other things, because I've written it in such a way, I've got the template for this image in such a way that I can reuse it anytime I want to. It's not going to make a big deal to me. It's not going to be dated with something specific that I can't reuse it again. So if I were doing a lesson or doing a presentation or putting together an ebook or something, and I wanted to have something about calls to action on a website, as long as I named this file something that made sense and it's saved on my computer in that way, it will absolutely make sense for me to be able to go into my folders and just literally go search something for about calls to action. And it will pull up all the images I've ever saved with the words call to action on it. And then I can pick what I want to use to go in and put into that presentation I might be using. So that is when I say templates and using them and keeping them organized, I really mean keeping it all very, very organized in this way, because it's a lot easier to find and reuse. So essentially every week we have certain images. We make one for featured image for my blog. We make one of these entrepreneur tips here. We copy it for a version that goes in this other template. We do the carousel takeaway ones that I was telling you about, and those ones are here. And so these ones are a carousel that is 4 carousels. One has the cover, and then there's lesson number 1, 2, and 3. And I have 2 templates. One has blue, white, blue, white. One is blue, white, white, blue. That's it. So when every week comes up to go make one of these, we essentially just come in. I can look at this one. So the last time we did this one was blue, white, white, blue. So I'm going to take the other ones. I'm going to duplicate these. Duplicate 4 pages. I'm going to drag them down to my episode regular area here. And then we'll rename them after we go in and update them. So even making these 4 images, I'm going to come over. This is my sample one I've got here. I'm going to go to the carousel takeaway. We've got the title on it, then image 1, image 2, image 3. I'm going to take all of those and literally go copy and paste them and put them into these different images over here. I'm going to download them all. You can see what we do here. We call it, these ones I just do as takeaways because I typically don't reuse them again. So we download them as the episode number, takeaway 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we save them purposely in that way so that when we go to use them online and upload them to social media, guess what happens? If I upload them in that way, it's going to automatically organize them because they're in alphabetical order, because there's the exact same name. And then there's the 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when I put them into Facebook Meta, where I use them, they will load up in order typically. And so it saves me time having to reorganize those when I schedule that content. I know it sounds like, how do I call it? Really minor, like picky details, not minor, but very picky details. It is, but it's all about saving time. When you think about it, add up all the time that I'm going to save every week by all of these little systems that I have and these naming conventions. I know exactly what kind of name I want to call these. I know where I'm going to download them. I know where I'm going to download them and where they're going to go in my folders on my computer. All of that adds up to a lot of saved time when you have these systems in place. It is critical for doing this. So the other example, we have the carousel steps. So I have this template that I use. I got it from, I can't remember where I got it from, but we save these templates and essentially we save each of the different images. So I'm going to show you this grid view because you get a better idea. So I have several templates in here. I think about 10 different templates. Each one is 2 pages because at the most we can put up 10 images on a carousel. And so there's just a different variety. So if I have one where I might want just 5 tips, I might grab this one here. If I have one where I just want to put, if I want to put 10 tips, maybe I'll grab one like this. So it just depends on what we're doing. Typically, we rotate through these as well and just use whatever we have as the template. So if I look at this one here, I can see the last episode, we used one that had these blue ones here. So that's this template 9. So the next template that we're probably going to use is number 10. And then it will start over number 1, number 2, and all of that. So again, you take your time at the beginning, you create all these templates. When you've put them all together, it seriously does mean that when you go to create what I recommended for your hour of marketing, you know, having an image, 2 images to create for your tips, another image with the carousel image, and then another image that would be a single one that might go with your blog or your newsletter. So you've got to create 4 images. But if you have the templates there and you have them in different sizes, so similar to having a size like this that looks well on Instagram and having a version of it like this that looks well on Facebook and LinkedIn, it's just a matter, it doesn't take me any extra time to make this. I literally, it's a copy and a paste and put it over here. It is no big deal to put these together. And in fact, you can do it in this way, in that once you create, and I always said I create the Instagram ones first, and then I create the others, because it's easier to edit going that way. So in this case, once I've done this one, it took me 30 seconds to copy and paste and put all of this in for my info. Now I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to copy it. And let's just say, I'm going to make a template up here. Let's just say this is the one that I'm going to use here. I've got it all moved over. I could literally go in here and just hit delete it all out if I want to, and Control V, paste this all back in. Now I've got exactly what I had in the words. I'm not even retyping or recopying them. I'm just going to put them in here, line them up, make sure this is the way that I want it. If I want it a little bigger, I'll highlight it up and put it, and then that one is all ready. I'm going to change the name. And one of the way that I save the name as fast as possible is I'll pick, like, this is best newsletter clicks. So this was episode 162. I have episodes. You all can use dates. Okay, that's what I used before I used episodes. Control V, best newsletter clicks. And then I've got it here. Now I'm going to share it and download it, because remember what I said, I always want to save these to my computer. So I'm going to hit current page. I'm going to save. I compress the file. You'll need to know if you're saving as PNG or JPEG. My web person says JPEG for website ones that you're going to upload, and PNG if they're really complicated. So it's just up to you. Download this. This is one of my entrepreneur private practice tips. So I know that when I want to go save this, I'm going to go to my social media folder. I'm going to go to my current social media. This is the entrepreneur tip. It's in 2025. And this was episode 162, best newsletter clicks. Because I typed that in on the image on Canva, it is trying to save it on my computer as that image. So I'm just going to hit save. It's actually already there. Like, that's how accurate this is. That was exactly what we would have saved when we made that, because the exact image is pretty much right here. One of the things that you can do when we save these, when we download the Instagram ones, we just save it that way. When we download the Facebook and LinkedIn ones, you can see we add FBLI to it. So then I know that if I'm pulling up that file and I want that size, I can actually put that in the search that I'm looking for too. So, and that's how you save it in there. And really and truly having a system, just to give you an idea on my file system, in that current folder, I have the entrepreneur tip ones. I told you all I create a feature image for the blog as well. So in there, we've got all of those blog feature images, and they're kind of, you can see them in rotating order. The gray, the blue, the yellow, the gray, the blue, the yellow, gray, blue, yellow. I mean, it's all there. If I have a guest on, then we put their picture in. So we'll put that in there. If I don't, then we've got this one. This is not the net title of the episode, because I have a plan for these images and what I put on them. If we look at the carousels, so these are those takeaway carousels, the 4 ones that I do with the 4 lessons. You can see they're all in here. Episode 137 is the first one, second one, third one, 4th image, and they're all the same, and they just rotate through. The steps lessons that I put in here too. So we have those in here. So we have the images that we would have saved from what we made and then what we cut up to make for it. And then in this particular case, the lesson that we had, so this was want to learn how to save time, attract clients, and grow your practice. And then we had a 5-step content repurposing strategy. That is episode 137. And so if I look at 137 over here, Here's your 5-step content saving strategy, because we make those images a little bit different for LinkedIn and Facebook. Because when there are a lot of more than 4 carousel images on LinkedIn and Facebook, they don't show as nice, they get hidden. So we tend to make them in this way. So we always make a what I call the single message for the steps for Facebook and LinkedIn. And you can see them in all of them. And if I've got like 10 things, it's in there, whatever it might be. They're all laid out, and you can see as we go through it, there are different templates that I use. And again, it's copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. It's all about having those systems for saving and storing everything that you do. So I hope that gives you a little more insight into how I organize my Canva, my folders, my saving, my file naming conventions, all of it, and it gives you a little bit of insight and inspiration, hopefully, on how you can also go in and have a system in play, because I will tell you 100%, having all of this set up ahead of time is why you will save time doing your marketing. It is 1,000% what is going to make things take less time for you. Now, there's a lot more to this. This is just a high picture overview. I teach a lot of it in the Thrive Marketing Academy, which is my year-long group and private coaching program. So if you're interested in learning more about that, definitely click the link below where you're watching this video, and I'll have links to where you can get some details on the Academy. Everything that I teach is all about having systems and processes and templates and SOPs, standard operating procedures, on how you put everything together and how you can have all of these templates and systems in place to save you time with your marketing. So not only does it keep you focused because you're being very strategic in what you're planning, that's what this whole series of Marketing Your Practice in 1 hour a week is all about, is how can you take the least amount of time and get the most bang for your buck when it comes to marketing? Well, having these kinds of systems is one of the ways to do that. So I hope this has helped you and has given you a little bit more of some insight into how these systems make it possible to do that marketing in 1 hour a week. And if you're interested in more, you can definitely check out the Thrive Marketing Academy. I offer a free consult if you want to talk about it. There's a link on the page where you can book that call with me if you're interested. Now, for those of you that were here just for the podcast episode, which is perfectly fine, you now have some of that background and that insight and some screen sharing examples of how you can have templates and how you have that whole system to create your images and save time doing that. So when I tell you that you can create all those images you need for a month of marketing in 20 minutes in 1 hour a week, which is all you do as the contribution to the images for your marketing, to do that marketing for that cycle, if you're doing that 1 hour a week, to do one newsletter or blog a month, which is the example that we've been using in this whole series. The entire reason that I can tell you you can make all those images in 20 minutes is because you've got these systems set up ahead of time, and they're working to help you spend as little time as possible putting those images together for all of your marketing. If you have any questions, you can definitely post them below here where you're watching the video. I do watch the comments and answer those. If you're looking for more in the Academy, book a call with me. I would love to talk to you about that as well. And otherwise, you can click and go back now. And if episode 170 is live, you can continue on and follow along with how to spend 1 hour a week marketing your practice or your business. This is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off, saying thanks for tuning in. And I wish you all the best as you get this working and want to make things a lot more easier and save a ton of time with your marketing. This is one of the ways you're going to do it, following these systems for putting those marketing images together, because I really do believe 5 minutes max is all you need to make your regular content marketing images for your consistent content plan. I'll see you next time.